Ooh. This is the first in a long time since I've done a proper stream. Killer weapons. Yeah, let's go. I'm kind of curious. Don't take any offense. Where do I remember you from? Yeah, but like, but where though? You even waiting? What kind of stream in general? Link, what's up? Um, I honestly, so actually, it's right here. I can sign in. Here, 1 second. Here's that one. Wait, what happened? Okay, I think it was the wrong credentials. That one. I have this link right here. Because I don't have sponsors. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. Yep. Very interesting phone call. All right. So yeah, I don't have YouTube stuff going on because I just picked this back up after. God. I want to know what the past stream I did. Let's see. 11 years ago. 11 years ago. I've only had just a handful of them. You know, 13 years ago. These were probably the most boring streams that I could have done. Possibly. I just think it's a little cringe. But they're up there. They're up there to see how far I've come. I'm also editing some stuff here, but so this was coding. Well, yeah. Yeah, this is my coding session. You have a good night. Trying to figure out some kind of challenges that Link may have for me, or U weapons. Not too crazy, you know. I'm not, you know, doing any nefarious or illegal things. Although I do have this. This essentially is just a server that exists in the cloud. I'm not touching that tonight, though. I should probably get like a curriculum or something like that. Might help. Probably go through a series of possibly probably a series of no, I'm not doing malware. Come on, man. Probably like a curriculum to introduce like C# or C or C++, something like that, you know? Something that's going to be relatively easy for anyone to understand and probably grasp. Because I have some C knowledge, I have some C++ knowledge, I have more C# knowledge. So I would be a little more comfortable in C# to oh, what, this? No, it's not. This ain't malware. What, this right here? Weapons, I appreciate it. Irrational. I don't know about irrational. No. So, okay, allow me to explain. A honeypot is something that is used to basically like sniff out, you know, bots or stupid people. Any smart person wouldn't go to a link, right? Unless I tell them that it's safe, right? And the links that I generated for you, Link, were safe because they were automatically generated by the program as a safe call. So when you hit that link, you don't get logged, essentially. And I'm going to show you this, right? This is the IP calculator. This is well, this is me testing it to make sure that it does what it's told. Right now it's not working, but actually I should leave that there just so I can test the prefix. So essentially you have a whitelist. If I'm whitelisted, you don't get logged. The logging happens down here, right? So essentially, if you hit .env anywhere in the path, it sends you here. Before I get to this one, any other stuff that's not listed in here, you will get logged with a random error code. Now, when we go to the beta, right? This is all it's supposed to send you. You don't get logged. You don't get anything. You just get a 200, which is an okay. And boom, you are safe. You will not get logged. That's only if you hit the link that I send you. So if I go over here and I say, well, So like testing site is slash whatever, this one, right? That essentially is the link that I send you that is the safe link, and it generates every single time I restart the service. That's what this goes to. And like I said, right here, if it matches that link that I sent, it goes there. And then essentially it's supposed to return. So instead, I'm going to return here. Right? And then I'll return here too. Just for safety. Right? Because if nothing matches, then boom. And that gets saved. So we can just be safe about that. Like I said, testing sites beta. When I generate the beta, right, it's going to go to... So here's a hash that I generate. When you load the script, where is it going to go? Where do I set beta? Beta is an empty string. Load that. Go down. Oh yeah. No. Right here. So I generate the hash super duper dash datetime.now, and that concatenates into a string, and then testing site would be that link to work off of. It is actively stored in memory. So any generated link I give you is going to be safe. You will not be in a list such as this, because these are actual this is actual requests from a previous instance, right? Warm PHP 7, ws.php 7, ws.php. These are all being actively collected by the world. And to demonstrate, right, these already have an abuse score. So I don't care about, I don't care about these IP addresses. Did you do computer science before? I've been doing computer science basically since I was 16 years old. So about 17 years. So yeah, that's how long I've been doing C# too, for about 17 years. So I'll also move this over here because my camera is more over here than it is over there. Trust me, I have 4 screens. So anyways, if you pay attention over here, you'll see that 4.218.15.175, right, comes from Microsoft in Korea, which possibly tells me that it is an Azure cloud service that Microsoft is hosting. So someone had reported yesterday, someone was attempting to crawl for PHP services. Multiple web server 400 error codes from the same source IP. Actually, you know what? This one might be me. I should probably resolve the reporter ID to the actual username, or put something in there where it says, hey, this is actually you. This is your report. Instead of just having just a number. But yeah, this program took me about, I want to say 72 man hours to create. That goes, you know, essentially I have a control panel on the left. I have whatever output I have from the control panel in the middle. And then I have an actual database of IP addresses I have reported in the past. So if I report this IP address again, it will not actually do it because I already have, although it's not in this list, I have reported it before, and I am trying to play nice with the abuse IP database software that exists online. So by playing nice, it ensures that I am not just actively spamming trying to downplay an IP address. So I'm playing nice. You know, I'm being very fair. So any IP address that does exist in this list will get reported eventually. I just need to condense all of these down, and I think I had something like that. I had a script that basically took everything, and as long as an IP address matched, then it would actually take all of this, right, and combine it into one long string, so that I could just paste it and report it. Link, I know your brain hurts, but this is kind of like the real world of programming. It's not like, you know, string message equals, you know, hello comma world, you know, exclamation point. My name is, you know, Link. 2 + 2 = 4. This is more sophisticated in terms of programming. Like, if I wanted to, I should probably remove these because when I encapsulate the string to actually send to the database, then that would actually break right here, as I am putting them here already. So instead of forcing encapsulation on the string on the outside, I'm just doing it here because I don't need to introduce garbage. What do you do? Do you have Visual Studio up? Because you could possibly follow along with some samples. I don't mind sampling code with you guys. I am more than happy to. Now, well, do you not have the space for it? Because I know you've, I know you've had issues with disk space in the past. I did not like rest up 50 times and it would delete itself, so I gave up. What the heck is rest up? I'm kind of curious. Okay, that is a very interesting, like, let's see. You're learning Rust? I will refuse to learn Rust. Honest to God, I will refuse to learn Rust. Would Rust have fixed this issue? No. I've seen low-level programming or low-level coding way too many times. I do not appreciate Rust. It may be a great programming language for a lot of people with a lot of C-ish capabilities, but that's not for me. Zig, I know someone else uses Zig as a programming language, and it hurts my brain. I don't even know what. Well, that, unfortunately, is going to be a you problem. Game. Well, so making a game, and trust me, I have problems making games like a 3D world and all that stuff because I'm not a designer by any means. I am more of like the logic kind of guy, right? If I had a game designer like working with me, I would be unstoppable. The game logic is more of my forte. Although I've built video games in the past, like on Twitch, I've done it. I've gonna make a game. Oh, there's my mic. I need to. So, making a game is very interesting because you have to really think about what you want to do, right? How do you want the workflow to go? How do you want to draw the graphics? How do you want to, handle the logic in the background? How do you want to develop a story? How do you want to, do special effects? So I know that I've done it in for Twitch. This is a game that I wrote on Twitch, guys, and honestly, it was actually kind of fun to make it. So it's a game where you need to evade the enemy to gain points, right? So instead of every single frame count that goes up, you score based on how many enemies you've evaded, right? So eventually I wanted to implement coins and other gems, so when you collect those, it increases your score. So if you do that, then it would make a lot more sense. So I'll show you the game itself with logging support. So that is the beginning right there. If I hit F3, you get a little credits. And yeah, the credits are a little slow, and they don't have music at all. Although I would like to add sound effects. There's something wrong with the audio processor in SDL. So I really don't know what could be happening. But the libraries I've used, SDL3, Sharp SDL3, C# programming language. Special thanks to the Twitch live stream Bearster, who actually gave me the challenge because he was doing it in Python. I go, I can make it easier and follow along and you'll be fine. And to the people who have actually went to the page to download it, to actually play this game, I thank you. So I think here I can escape, and then I can just press space to evade cats. Like that. And then you can also kind of just like float in the air a little bit. And you just literally can start evading cats. There's also a little sprite glitch up on top. Don't know why there's an offset issue. Might be because SDL might be anti-aliasing. But yeah, after a certain time, it yeah, sure. So when you the background changes over time. So it goes from like light to dark, dark to light. When you die, it flashes red and it goes back to whatever color it was. And then you just restart. Maybe if you don't like this color, you can start in dark. And then you can also go back to light after a few resets for some reason. So there's also, there's also licensing. If you hit F1 on the keyboard, it will show the licensing. And it's supposed to be kind of like a window almost, where there's no functionality. You just hit escape. So F1 and escape. I should also put in there, like, press escape to leave it. I should also press escape to leave credits at any time. So when you go to credits, nobody knows to press escape. I could probably put a little icon or something like that, you know, says, you know, skip or something like that. But then, you know, F2 to restart. And in my head, I'm thinking back to like the MS-DOS and Windows days, like the Windows 95, Windows 98 days, where you had F2 to always start a new game. So, and it makes a lot more sense to me, you know, F2. But then when you hit escape, it just dies out. So obviously these are the tiles that I've used, which is just the background or the floor, the hero, and the enemy 5 times loaded in. So every time when the enemy leaves the screen, it resets itself, which is actually pretty cool. I really like this. It was a good, fun project. So something like this took a couple of days. It took a couple of streams, more or less, to, you know, work out the kinks and all that stuff. And it was a lot of fun. But if I wanted to build a full-on library, then I would have to take all of this, you know, like, you know, effects and all that stuff, and take them out and put them into a library so I can reuse the same engine data over and over again. And I want to say engine is no. So you go to the program. Program itself was a huge file, and I had slimmed it down and moved it into other files. And yeah, there's some debug stuff. So because I'm in release mode, all of this stuff doesn't exist. So F4? No, that debug stuff is automatically shown. So if I go to debug mode, you'll see what I was working with. So there is the line where if my hitbox reaches that line, it forces you to go back down. Now we have how many ticks, we have dead, on the ground, jumping, and so forth. Nice. You're gonna follow along. I like it. So if I hit F2, you can see that my velocity is showing. I'm dead, I'm on the ground, I could be off the ground, I'm jumping, I've reached my max jump. And I'm using half a gigabyte because of the debug symbols that exist within the actual debug version. But if you also pay attention here, enemy 1 through 5 passed, it'll show you which enemies I've passed, and then what enemies I will not pass when they reset. So that's what I was working with when I was debugging the game. And by switching to a release mode, it actually eliminates the overhead quite a bit. I think I also put in a little yeah, so the text kind of jumped a little bit. I don't know how to make a file. Sounds like when you load Visual Studio, wait, is it Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio? VS Code. Okay, let's do VS Code. So, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and close. Well, I could probably just close. I'll leave it minimized because I'll be working with that later. So, you're here, right? What we want to do here, right, is we want to open a folder. So for people who have Visual Studio Code and want to follow along, then you can just follow along. You just open a folder. I'm going to go to my code folder, and I'm going to load C#. So I have a bunch of C# directories. I should probably go in more. So if I go to CS again, if I make a new folder, okay. So I'm gonna say, test CS. I'll open that folder instead. Now I have test CS. I have an empty, I'm gonna close that too. So I have an empty folder, right? So that's fine. You can just go and download. Well, C and C++ are gonna be automatically included. I think. You might need the tool chains necessary, but C#, you just download the .NET Software Development Kit. And that's going to be over here, so I'll guide you. .NET latest. And you can just download the latest version, which is .NET 10. I think I'm on .NET. No, I think I'm on .NET 9. So what I should probably do is install .NET 10. So I'm going to do Windows 64-bit. I'll open it up. And then I'll install it. And now it's installing. I'll also move this up. Yeah, go take your time. I'll just continue going. Oh, I think I know what happened. That was a WebSocket that was necessary to, I see. Oh, criminy. Okay. Now I got that set again, and this is done. So now that this is good, be back shortly. Got it. I should be able to create a new file. I'm just going to call it program.cs. There should be another way for me to do that, and I think it is by creating a terminal. And I should say .NET new. Okay, yeah, new console dot. I guess not. Let's force it. Cool. So I have a new project. I really don't like the top level statement version of .NET. So I'm going to say namespace, and I'm going to say test or test CS. And I'm just going to bog it there. Internal, static, class, and then program, private, static, void, main. Okay. And then I don't. Yeah, let's go ahead and use system. So we'll save that, and then just to give it some extra flair, console dot for color is equal to console color dot yellow, and then console dot background color is equal to red. So you guys are probably noticing that there's no auto completion, sort of. For some reason, Copilot's integrated with the shell, and you know, it really is nice. But there's only some basic things that exist. So I could like, oh, you know, CPH or whatever, whatnot, right? I should also probably reset color, just for the heck of it. Now, the problem that I have here is I don't have proper IntelliSensing happening. Although it says, hey, using directive is unnecessary. That's pretty cool. So something is working. So if I look at my extensions, the install tool is here, right? And then I have anything C# that should be included. DevKit's installed, language support's installed, IntelliSense is installed. So what gives? Well, let's also set up a formatter. That's the wrong prettier. Shortpad server. Sign in. No. I guess. That's not what I wanted. Figure default build tasks. I don't care about that. What? This is why I don't use VS Code. It's script CS. Hell no. .NET. Hey, see, there we go. There's my program. So if I launch this, right, then it should work. Yeah, fine, I'll reload. Let the extensions activate. Now it's parsing the projects. It's restoring the projects. Cool. So everything seems to be in working order. Other than that, I can't see class information. So run project associated with the file should do that. Cool. I mean, it ran, so technically it worked, but let's take a look at it with copy the path. I'll launch a command line, and you'll actually see that it is YouTube colors, sort of. It doesn't show here for some reason, but that's fine. So I'll just be in this directory, just so I can run it externally. But you see that I have all the necessary things ready to go. Now, the only thing that kind of, you know, upsets me a little bit is the fact that, there we go. Now I have .NET. Okay, cool. So I'll also configure clean. And then there should be a .NET run. I guess not. This is not defaults. Actually, what I could do is steal that and then paste that in. And then nope. And now, if I, with my tasks, I could just .NET build, and then I can build the solution instead. And the solution gets built. And now that I actually have solution data, look at that. Now I actually have proper properties. So now I can see all the classes that exist within .NET. Link is probably going to get a little lost, which is fine. It's fine. So let's try to build something, right? So what I can do is I can go ahead and save this current version of the program, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. I'm going to call it node.cs. I'm going to run it in the same namespace. And Copilot kind of scares me a little bit. So public node previous, creating a linked node. And what's going to be interesting is, see these three little dots here next to my cursor? You may not see it in full view, but those three little dots suggest that it wants me to do a primary constructor. So by doing a primary constructor, it kind of eliminates the constructor overhead because you're just setting the values anyway. So it would make sense to do this only if I'm doing value sets, right? If I'm doing nothing, then you don't need a constructor at all. It just kind of cleans up the code so you know where your constructor is at all times. Because you could have your constructor anywhere around the file and it will get lost until you reformat the file. So I guess that's fine. Yeah. We can have functions inside that can do certain things. So in this case, we have a value. So instead, we could just say instead of value, we could... Hello? We can say ID. And then we'll change this to ID as well. Now we have our identification. We could store additional data in a class. A class is just basically a scope that stores your properties, your members, and your functions. So I've created an integer that is ID. The ID is a property. Property has get set in it, for example. So right now I have get and set, but instead what I could do is I could say init, right? And I could set these to init as well. But the problem is once they're initialized, I can't reset those values, making these read only. Instead, it would make sense for me to set those values so I can set the nodes dynamically. So if I go and I save this file, I can include it into this code here. So instead of this code, right, I can say private node, and you can see how it picks up. And I will create an array of them, and nodes is equal to new node, let's say 5 of them, right? And cannot declare instance members in a static class. It is true. So I need to make this static. So now it is 0 reference, meaning that there is nothing to reference it by. Now, if I want to do a linked node, then that's what this does. But I kind of want to set them manually. So I'll say nodes 0 is equal to new node 0. Well, you know what? I could just initialize them, right? I'll just say this, right? So I initialize them all. And let's go ahead and see them. But what I want to do is I want to say, I want to create a random network of them together, right? So I need to randomize it so I can see the node tree in real time and show the complex matrices or matrices. So what I should do is set up a random class or random object, so private static random, and then rand is equal to new. And by doing this allows me to parse random data. So now that I have the for loop done, I need to do another for loop that actually goes through, and instead of initializing them, right, I need to iterate through them. None of that makes sense. So I'm just gonna remove that. No. I need a node, a current node. And then node, trying to figure out. You know what? This is fun. I think I can work with this. So I'll say, yeah, current node is equal to nodes I. And then from there, what I should do is node target is equal to length minus 1. Because if I do, let's say, you know, I have 5 nodes, right? If I take the length of that, that's 5. But that would actually cause an index out of bounds error because everything is 0 base indexed. So it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 right there. So by calling the index 5 is the 6th element, which doesn't exist. So I'd always have to take minus 1 or get the upper bound. But this is a little cleaner in my opinion. So target dot previous is equal to the current node. And then I need to link them together like such. So essentially this should be theoretically handled. So if we run this, we should get a little spatter. Yeah, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all it's going to give us. That's all I'm asking it to do right now. Although I set the nodes up already, what I need to do is set up each line. So what I can do is yeah, that works. So previous next is 0. This is unexpected. So that is kind of weird. That's unexpected behavior. No, it is expected behavior. So in a way, it is expected behavior because, welcome back. The problem is when we iterate through, one is disassociated. So I should say if target, no, So there needs to be a way to handle regeneration. I won't worry about that. If I rerun this again, there will be new values. That is very unexpected. Because I take the current node and I associate it maybe let's not go with random. So instead, what I should do is predefine the next index. I should probably say next index is I plus 1. And then I'll say the current node is equal to that. And then next index. So this should be sequential. Yeah. So this is sequential noding. So essentially what this does is it creates a linked list. That's what this is. So I could traverse through a list and find the data that I want, and I can traverse it forward and backward. The only problem is when I do it this way, it creates a chain link. Visually think chain link. But instead, what I want to do is I want to create random routes that can associate with one another. So the more that I create a complex network, right, the worse that it could be. So I want, for example, 0 to route to 2, but 2 can route to 1, and then 1 can route to 3, 3 can route to like 5, and so forth. So you want to create a complex network like that, and then you could also have some reference others. But in order for you to do that, you would need to... Well, what is it I'm looking for? You need to make sure that it can route backwards. Because if I do, 3, 2, previous is 3 on 2. Next would be 4. Previous on 4 would be 2. So you would always want a trail that goes back to one another. So what I could theoretically do is shuffle the nodes around. So if I want to make it purely random, then I could... Whoa. Okay, let's do that. So create nodes. Static shuffle, or void shuffle nodes. And then what this will do is while n is greater than 1, say 0. Then we'll go down by 1, and then we create what is known as a tuple. So the tuple, n and k is equal to k and n. We're swapping them around. It's not random, but you get the idea. -1. Always -1. So now that I have 0 to n minus minus, so now that I've shuffled nodes, then I will shuffle those nodes. And then what I could also do I'll print nodes, and I need to create this function. Okay, I guess ChatGPT wants to implement this. Let's take a look at what it wants. Obviously, it did not work there, but that's what it's supposed to print. ChatGPT is integrated with my with my IDE, bro. Yeah, Copilot is ChatGPT. They're both Microsoft products. Yeah, unfortunately, it's integrated with my IDE. If it wasn't there, then I would be a lot happier. All it did was it gave me color to what I want. Copilot is. ChatGPT is built by OpenAI. Copilot is also powered by AI models from OpenAI, specifically Codex GPT variants. It's a different product slightly integrated into code editors like Visual Studio Code and JetBrains. Copilot, an AI coding assistant inside your IDE. General conversational AI that can help with coding, but there's work, blah, blah, blah. They share some underlying tech, but they're different tools. Okay, my bad. I was misinformed. They're alike. So Microsoft invested in OpenAI, which is how I thought is not made by Microsoft, but they are in partnership with it. So they're taking the technology and implementing it into Copilot. That's where I got misinformed. So, yeah, Copilot automatically put this in. Although I'm not really too happy with this because there's a lot of reused code in here. So it would make sense to print something else. make it a little more unique. So what I should probably do is instead private static void print node node n, and then only then can I implement something such as what it's doing there. And I think there is escape codes that I can use. I think Microsoft implemented them. So if I go and I find I don't remember the exact color escape. So if I go in my command line and if I type in \033 and then this bracket here, and if I say 31.1 4M, what up? Oh, echo. I guess it's not available here. But then I would also have to do 033, 0M to reset. Unfortunately, command line doesn't necessarily implement it, so let's see if PowerShell does. Maybe if I implement it as a string. Nope. But if I do it in a bash shell, Ubuntu. I'll load Ubuntu and I'll echo the same thing. Unfortunately, Fish picked up on it. It says, hey, this isn't allowed. That is weird. Looks like it doesn't necessarily work. I might be doing it wrong. So, I don't know. But we can print the node and we'll say console.foreground color is equal to green. And then we'll do that. We don't need to reset the color, because then we can say console, well, private static void print ln string s, and then we'll do the console color. So then I could just do that. But instead of print ln, I could just do print. String s. And then we'll write. So instead, what I could do is pass this as an overload. Why would I? No. We're going to do it the C# way. That's a more better way to do it. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm creating a print function that writes whatever color I supply it to the console. If I print a line, I am essentially saying, hey, I want to use this function. So instead of console.writeLine, I'm using console.write, which includes the escape character for new line. So now that I got that set, now I can say print node, and then I could say print previous, and I can say, let's do dark cyan. And then we'll say yeah, that's fine. I could just change this to print ln, and it'll take care of that new line for me. I really don't like the fact that my braces are horrendous. And I'm still reusing code. So instead, what I should do is private static void print node ID, and I'll and then I'll say my color, right? Because I'm going to introduce color up here too. And it's enforcing a string, so yes, I should probably encapsulate this in that just to satisfy it, because I could print an object, but I'm enforcing string, which is fine. It's absolutely okay. That way I can modify it later on. So if n is null, then we'll print ln null. But now I don't even have to do this stuff anymore. Okay. What? There we go. Format the document. So you'll see that there is a null reference for the parameter. So what that means is I'm not specifying that this is a null. So I need to go in there and say I need to make sure that this is null. Because if it isn't, then I'm assuming it is not going to be null. And I will throw a hissy fit at you. So instead of printing nodes this way, I will print the node in a normal fashion, which will save me some lines here. So I'll print node, and I'll print the node here. Now I've created some abstraction that allows me to kind of just go in there and say, hey, I'm reducing code reuse. I'm implementing reusable functions instead of reusing the same code over and over and over again. Although I'm saying, hey, these colors, right? They shouldn't be there, right? So what I should do is, if I'm going to print the node ID, I should make this cyan by default. So I no longer have to worry about specifying the color cyan. And print, well, that's fine. But everything else should be a-okay. So if I build, everything seems fine. We'll open up a command line and we'll go back to source code CS test CS bin debug net 10, and I'll run test CS. For some reason that's I see what's going on. Okay, so when we print the node, we'll need to introduce a null string. There we go. Ah, there's a bad space in there. So what I need to do is introduce a space there. And here we go. So now, for node 2, it's 4, next is 1, so forth, right? So now that they're set in a random fashion, random, not truly random. Hey, hey, hey. Day. So what I should do is, yes, it is Xenogenesis. You have a good ear, man. Yeah, let's make this read only. That's read only that. So now I need to unshuffle the nodes. So private static void sort, and then node. Oh, that's gonna be fun. ID compared to ID. Played with this song many times in Geometry Dash. Probably the reason why you know it so well. So let me go ahead and recap what I've done, because it seems that I've worked too fast to allow people to either catch up or understand what I've done. So I created a program called main, and I created 2 functions, create node, shuffle nodes, and I also created sort and print nodes to also then print line, print node ID, and so forth. Want me to go slower? Essentially, I have created a program that creates a class called node. Node has a previous of itself and the next of itself. This is reference handling, essentially. So only classes can do this. Yes. Classes that are null referenceable, or reference classes, or reference objects, can include references to itself. Never let this man into his villain arc. Yeah, don't mess with me. Reference objects can only reference itself, else it would be cyclic redundancy if handled anywhere else. So sorry about that. Essentially, a node will have 3 properties. It'll have its identification, the previous that is linked to this current node, and the next node that it connects to. So as long as the next connects to the previous of the next node, and the previous connects to the previous of the previous node, or so forth, then it creates an absolute link, which is awesome. So create nodes goes through and is like, hey, I want to initialize this array, because if it's not initialized, then what happens is there's nothing to reference by. The next is shuffling the nodes. Now this one seems a little confusing. So I take a random number from 0 to n minus minus. N minus minus is a post-decrement value, meaning that as I shuffle, I grab from array 0 to whatever. Actually, what I should do is I should put nodes dot length minus 1 here. That way when I get the highest node, then I could substitute it and I can have it truly shuffle. So what this is it's a tuple. So it allows me to tupleize the two together without having to create, you know, temporary variable here and so forth. I'm basically just taking k, which is a random number between 0 and 4, and the current, which is going to be 4. So the randomness, and if for whatever reason, if n equals k, then I'll continue. That way it truly randomizes the shuffling. Because if 4 is equal to 4, why would I swap those two with itself? So essentially, this will create a more randomized shuffle, like shuffling a deck of cards. Literally, you take a deck of cards like so, right? And what this is supposed to do is mimic card shuffling. So right now, I just shuffled this deck of cards. I'll shuffle again on the table because I know that my camera has it. Ah! That was a bad shuffle. Let's try that again, shall we? Okay. The only thing I've understood so far is variable k is 1/4. No. K is a value between 0 to 4. So I've shuffled these cards around, right? In a random fashion, a sequentially random fashion. 7 is always going to be on the bottom because I'm not setting the King of Hearts to the floor unless I go first with the King of Hearts. So now what I want to do is cut the deck and so forth, right? King of Hearts is still going to be on the bottom. This is not a truly, well, technically it's a truly randomized deck. But if I want to truly randomize my bottom card, then what I need to do is I need to take the bottom card and cut the deck some more. So now I'm left with the Ace of Diamonds. And no, I did not put it back into standard deck order because the Ace of Diamonds is actually supposed to be on the back. But that essentially is what I am trying to do here. I am shuffling the list of nodes around. And yeah, hey, you know what? Let's create 52 nodes. I don't mind doing that. All I have to do is add a 2, and the code takes care of the rest for me. I don't have to go in there and start having to, oh, well, for I equals 0, I is less than 52, right? No. nodes.length. Up here, nodes.length. Takes the length of the node. So if I compile this, and if I go back into my console, boom! I now have 52 nodes. But look, 51, 49, and 17. And if I look at node 17, previous is 51, the next is 5. If I go to 5, 17, and 3. 3 is from 5 to 37. 37, 25. And if I run this program again, if I look at node 51 goes to node 10. Node 10 is not node 51. Oh no, wait, that's previous. 51, got it. Next is 24. So previous is 10, right? 16. So they are all linked together in a web. So if I'm at node 20, how long would it take for me to get to node 44? I want to reach node 44. So I can go forward and backward. To see where exactly node 44 would be. But before we get into that again, I've created some functions to help me consolidate my code reuse. Because code reuse, code smell, it's disgusting, right? Having to redefine the colors over and over and over again, right? So instead, what I'm doing is, yeah, the only two that I'm redefining is dark cyan. That's fine, because the default color is white. The node ID, I can make it yellow, right? To make the number stand out more, I can make it yellow. And instead, I can make this magenta, and then I can make this I'll make it let's make it dark magenta. Make it purple. So this this function right here allows me to print information about the node. Right? Because if I go to the node, it's only going to return the value to string. If I were to call toString, it will return to me just the string itself, unformatted by color. When I find a way to do color codes, then I can remove all of this and paste it in there instead. So if I go here to the beginning, console.writeLine, right? And 03 or 33 2J033 doesn't necessarily help. So what if I did U? (0033) U033. And if I were to build this, what will it spit out to me in the console? I have so many things open, you have no idea. Yeah, that's all it prints, right? It's not healthy, but this seems to be somewhat formatted beautifully. Although the yellow is kind of eyesoring on me. So what I should do is probably change that yellow up a little bit. So let's make it a dark yellow. Okay, so probably dark yellow would make a lot more sense. And instead of dark magenta, I could just do, let's do dark green. Dark green seems nice, right? And instead of green here, I could say gray. So when I do that, boom. That looks a little neater. Looks a little more easy to read. So that's what that does. It just gives me some color information and so forth. And then this just iterates through and it prints all the nodes. So that's what that does. Down here, sorting. Essentially, I am doing a full array sort based on the ID. So A and B between two nodes. This does what is known as a bubble sort. It goes through and it compares to B or A and B's ID. And if it's greater, then it needs to stay. If it's less than, then no, if it's less than, it can stay. If it's greater than, then it needs to move. That's what that does. So when I shuffle, I randomly shuffle the deck. And I go through and I set up in that order. I set it up sequentially. Then I unshuffle it by resorting it back by ID. And I say the nodes are created and I print the nodes. I don't even need this here. I also don't need that either. I could just say sort. So this is going to be truly random here. Now that I have that set up, what did I say before? If I look here, it might help me remember how complex I want it to be when I want to find a certain node. So I want to find node 24. Right? So private static void void find node int ID, and then what I could do is I can go through each node to find that. So while no. So I'll say node current node is equal to nodes ID. So while current node.id is not equal to ID, then we'll say next. And just for the giggles, well, let's see how this works first. Oh dear goodness. Okay. So int iterations is 0. iterations plus plus. Oh, a friend of mine did a little stupid thingy. That's fantastic. So see, found node, which is iterations away from the head. Challenge you to hardest challenge of mankind. The impossible, my friend. So I'll build this. Who is contacting me? Okay. Nope. Brainfuck is not allowed. Yeah, right now you're not making sense. Alright, so then I've found, or I've created a function that just finds the node. So I want to find node 42. And I will compile this. I'll go back to the command line, clear, run test CS. Found node 42, which is 45 away from the head. There's 42 right there. We started at node 0. I refuse to do brainfuck. So this might be a little too confusing. So what I should do is probably make it a little shorter. So I'll say find node 6 in an array of 10. So we start at node 0, right? We go 5, 5, 4, right? 4, 1, 1, 7, 7, 6, 6. Node 6 is 5 away from the head. Wouldn't it have been better to go backwards? Because we can go backwards too. Remember, this is a fully linked list. So instead of progressing forward, we can find a way to traverse backwards, right? So we should probably do another node, previous node is equal to nodes 0. So while dot previous so how do we make this work? So Actually, let's use the tuple. So instead of this, what I can do is previous node current node is equal to current node dot previous, right? And next. Or previous node is equal to, or is not equal to. So we're using previous node and current node now. So we should be able to go backwards and forwards at the same time. So if I go forward and the number doesn't match, then we go backward to see if it actually found it. Let's test this. So, for run test CS, we are looping. That ain't right. So, previous node dot previous. So let's untuple this. So we need the previous node ID and the current node ID. They both start at 0. Okay. So I see that it actually worked. So let's see, what way did it go? Kind of curious. So if we start at node 0, so node 6 is right there, right? So if we go next to 5, 5, 1, 7, 6. Sounds like it's 4. So if I go previous, 2, 8, 4, 9, 6. So by going backwards, it seems that it took the longer route. Start again. 5, 3, 1. Oh no. 7, 6. So either way, they were equally. It was equally distanced from each other. So if I run it again, looks like it's 1 away. But I don't know why it's taking so long. Something is wrong with the algorithm. They were equally distant from each other. Oh, that's probably why. Helps to debug. Okay. I don't know why it's hanging there. But let's solve it anyway. To find node 6. Oh, it's the next one. Literally. So current node should have picked it up. I don't know why it keeps hanging like that. So I'll make an implement backwards. Right? If previous node is equal to else going backwards. Going forwards. Right? So I could also make it a color code, so I can say magenta. So I know that I'm going forward or backward. Right? I'll make this one cyan. I'll make this magenta. So cyan is forward, magenta is backward. So it's just, I have it in English and I also have it color coded. But I'm trying to figure out why it's, if one or the other, right? So while current node ID is not equal to ID or previous node ID. So if one of those is equal to true, then it should break. Works once, then doesn't work again. It shouldn't take this long to traverse. But to find node 6, it takes 2 going backwards, and it'll take 8 going forwards. So let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 7, 5, 8, 4, 6. So if it goes back 2, it goes forward 8. Oh, there's always going to be a number. So I'll make them sync up. So while current node ID, current node is current node next, iterations plus plus, iterations equals 0, while previous node is not equal to ID, iterations equals 0. So then I'll say print ln is away from the head. No. Oh. Yeah. And going backwards. And then as the shortest path. So I don't understand what's going on, but okay, for some reason that fixed it. Node 6 is not 0 away. Let's make these green. There's a lot of undefined behavior here. Because I see what happened. So I'd have to reset them, essentially, because the current node is now the same as previous node. They're both in sync with each other. So this is now moot. So what I should do I'll say current iter int prev iter, and then prev iter, if prev iter is less than current, going back was fast, going forwards was faster, both directions are equally as fast. Okay, this is probably going to be a better alternative. So now if I clear, going backwards is faster. It was only 2 away. What I should probably do is move this up so logically going up is backwards. Right, so going forward was faster. Going backwards is faster. Going forwards is faster. Numbers alternate. Both directions were equally fast. Doesn't matter. Link, I hope you were watching this. Essentially, the algorithm I had before, I wanted to go and say, hey, while I'm going backwards, I also want to go forwards. And if I happen to find the ID that I'm looking for before the other one, then I want to break out and say, hey, you know, here it is. But yeah, no, the code's a mess. It's not really the best challenges that I've had because Link was saying something about nodes earlier, not during the stream. He was talking about nodes, so I figured, okay, let me try to demonstrate what this is because he wants to have a cluster of these so-called nodes or things, and he wants to find the shortest path. From what I've understood from the messages, he wants to find the shortest path. So going forward and backwards. This is an example, but it's not what I was looking for. Because for some reason, the while loop that I was having, it was not doing what I was doing, or expecting it to do. Where it would count up the iterations, but if I found one or the other, then it should, you know, stop right there and say, you know, here's your node. It is this far away. I'm basically doing hops, essentially. But I hope that you might have learned something. I don't know. If I did go too fast, the VOD should be up. But to kind of recap, void doesn't return anything. These are functions. Functions allow me to do routines or instructions to tell the operating system or the computer what to do. I set some properties up. I, you know, print to my console. That's what these print lines do. I'm checking whether my iterations differ from each other, which they do. If my previous iteration is less than my current iteration, meaning that if it took me longer to get to the node I'm looking for versus going backwards was indeed faster. Else, if the previous iter is greater than the current iter, so my current node or my next node, right? So what I should probably rename these just to make it so next iter, and this is going to be my next node. So it makes it a little easier to kind of read because current is no longer current, right? I'm literally splitting up my tasks and I'm going backwards and forwards at the same time. Going forwards would be faster if my previous iter is greater than my next iter, meaning that to go forwards was a lot faster. But if they're both the same, then I'll say, hey, they're both equally fast. Doesn't matter which way you go in that list. So if I wanted to go forwards, I could also go backwards at the same time and I would reach my destination at the same time, meaning I'm literally in the midpoint of the array. So again, we need to initialize our arrays. By doing so allows us to preset and load that array correctly into memory so I can easily traverse or navigate through that array. After I do that, after I create my nodes, I randomly shuffle the nodes. By randomly shuffling these nodes, hello, oh fine, I'll just find you. By randomly shuffling the nodes, I take the length minus 1 because I'm going from 0 to, in this case, 9. Right, so from 0 to 9, 0 is considered a number in this. So from 0 to 9 is 10 values. While 10 is greater than 0, I find the next random using 10 minus 1, which is 9. So from 0 to 9, right? If I look at this, a non-negative random integer that is less than the specified maximum. So remember, it's a non-negative number, meaning 0 is a non-negative number. So from 0 to 9, I'm grabbing a random value. If they're equal to the same, if 9 is equal to 9, let's say, skip it. Because that means array number 9 and array number 9 switching each other is a step that I don't want to do. Because under the hood, that could be a wasted a wasted iteration. Right? That's just going to cause more CPU time in the long run. And while I do that, right, once I get another random number, then I could decrement this so I know that I have a full shuffle. Then I create my current node, right? And I create this outside of the scope because if I create it in here, nothing changes. So now that I have my node array shuffled up, then I iterate through the 0th index to the 9th index. Because the nodes inside, node 0 is going to have a different ID value. It's going to be completely different. But so it allows me to set up the randomized node shuffle by getting my next index, right, in that list, gathering the remainder of length, right? So if it's 9, then it's 9. But once it reaches 10, 10 divided by 10 is equal to 1, with a remainder of 0. So 8 divided by 10 is 0.8, right? but it's still within the remainder. So it would be 8. So let's say I do 11 divided by 10. 11 divided by 10 is going to be a value, right? 1.1. But instead what I do is I say it's 1 with a remainder of 1. If that makes sense. So in my head, I'm looking at this as, okay, so out of possible values of 5, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. In my head, I have it structurally different. But the modulus operator divides index or a value by a predefined value, right? So if my remainder is equal to 0, then I know that the value I'm looking at is divisible by the value on the right hand side. So for example, if it's modulus 2, 0, 1, 2 divided by 2 is 1, meaning that it is divisible by 2, therefore it's 0. 3, 1, right? There's always going to be that remainder of 1. And then 4 is divisible by 2, therefore it is 0. So 11 divided by 10 is not divisible by 10. So I'd grab the nearest number, which would be 1. Right? Because that would be the remainder. It's 10 divided by 10 with a remainder of 1. 19 divided by 10 is 10 with a remainder of 9. Two, or 20 divided by 10 is 2. Therefore, it is divisible by 10, so it's 0. There is no remainder. We're just gathering the remainder of our division. That's all it's doing. This is my TED Talk. So I'm going to hold on to the next index, and then I'm going to take the current node and set it to whatever I have in the shuffled index. Then my target is going to be that next index in that shuffled list. Then I say that my target's previous is equal to the current node, and the current node next is equal to the target. So I'm linking them together like a bike chain. Once this is done, I'll resort the array. By sorting it out, I'm using a built-in .NET function called array.sort. I take in nodes as my argument, and then I have this thing called a lambda expression. A lambda expression is just an action, or in this case, it's a comparison. So a comparison node function that compares nodes A and B. That's all it's doing. And it returns an integer. AID compared to BID. So I'm comparing those two IDs, and if A is less than B, then it remains. But if A is greater than B, I need to switch them out. And I need to keep doing that until I have sorted through the entire array. After that, I'll print my nodes. So when I print my nodes, I iterate through each of my nodes. And then I print my node ID, what exists in the previous and what exists into the next. And print node ID will check if the node is actually null. If it's null, then my algorithm wasn't set up properly and we'll have a break in our link. And then I print the ID of the current node, which is either previous or next. And I print a new line to signify that I am ready for my next instruction, or for my next node, which is here. And once I've iterated through all the nodes, then I want to find a specific node. In this case, it's 6. So I traverse backward, I traverse forward, and then I check to see if one is less than the other. If previous is less than the next, then going back was obviously faster. But if previous is greater than next, going forwards was faster. So I'll say backwards count, forwards count. If going backwards seemed to be faster because it's a lower number, then we'll print that. If it's the other way around, going forwards was faster. If my node is equally distant from 0, then I'll print another message saying that they're equally fast. And the program. Now 133 lines of code, although I could do with minimizing, right, my brace. So if I do a code compare, or if I do a line by line compare, I'll create a new solution. I'll create and I'll say test app, because it's going to be stored in repos, it's not going to be stored in code. I'll do .NET 9, that's fine, save. And then I'll paste in my code. I also forgot that I need Node. So I need to go back into Node, and I need to copy this class too. A node. So we completed. That's good. So I'll match the folder structure. And it'll break because I need to match the folder structure here too. So it's test app, which is fine. And to compare the differences of Node.cs here, or of Program CS, good night. I'm at 133 lines. If I do my curly braces here, I am down by 112 lines. Well, not 112. I'm down by 22 lines. So just by doing that, I saved 22 lines of code. It is insane. I shouldn't have to rely on the braces being on a new line. It is a waste of lines. 111 lines of code. Well, if you exclude the braces, it's going to be a lot less, but I'm including the entire file line count. And the same thing inside of Node.cs. Node.cs, I have 11 lines of here, although I should probably minimize that by one line. I'm not ready to launch it. I don't care. So I have 10 lines here. I have 9 lines here. I save one line because my brace is up here. It makes a lot more sense to do it this way because the code is more compressed. It's not, I don't need it to be spaced out like this, where it's an absolute nightmare to like see all of the curly braces. I don't need to see all of that. It's just extra, yeah, it looks cleaner. No, to me it doesn't. This looks cleaner. I know exactly where my lines start and I know where they end. This is just a much better way of formatting. I'm not gonna lie. It is a better way of formatting. But the same program it just works. This is a much easier environment for me to be in. It's more comfortable for me. Here, it's okay. I don't really like using Visual Studio Code for C# development. Although, if that's all people have, then people could either follow along. As long as they have their environment set up, you should be fine. So, I'll leave you with that. Right now, I should probably head off, go wind down, and just have a good rest of my evening. So, if you want the code, guess I could upload it to GitHub. In order for me to do that, I'm going to use this environment here. Or, you know what? I could use here. It's set up the same way. So, if I do here, get, let's add an ignore file. Visual Studio Code. And then I also need to include Visual Studio Append. So all of these are going to be added, which ignores the project structure and all that stuff. Now I need to do more Git stuff. I'm going to initialize a repository. Now we have a repository to work with. Git commit. Great. Let's just create one here. License template. Let's use GP. Add readme. Well, let's not add a readme. Visibility. Public. Repository name. No. Node. Test. Default is Visual Studio. Now we'll create and then push. It's going to ask me for a password because I need to sign my commit. Signing my commit verifies authenticity with GitHub. By doing so, it verifies that, hey, I actually uploaded this. This is my code that I've uploaded for you guys. Now, if I go here and I go to my repositories, it will pop up right here. Here it is. I see this life like a swinging vine. So we have our things on ready to go. There's not going to be a README, not going to be a description, there's not going to be any releases. But what I want to show you is this. There it is. There's my GPG key. The sign with the committer's verified signature. So this verifies that it was from me. It is a trusted commit. If it's unverified, I would not trust it. I would scrutinize the hell out of it. So there's going to be some code that I have made. Probably the IRC bot. We'll do that as an example. Because I did this 5 years ago. Or 9 years ago. It is unverified. There's no verification. It is technically safe. Right? Because this was before I implemented GPG keying. The only difference is between my verified and unverified commits is I've recently started doing verification. So my more recent commits, if you like, you know that I authored it, yes, but it's unverified. By verifying, it's a second level of verification stating that I truly uploaded it. Because let's say my GitHub account gets compromised, right? And someone tries to upload code, any code from a few months ago to now and in the future, right? If it's unverified, check it. Because I will. So if my account ever gets compromised, you'll know because there'll be unverified commits. All my commits now are going to be verified. I cannot stress that enough. So it's just to instill safety, you know, because I'm holding myself accountable for the code that I release. Right? I am very careful of the code that I release. I'm not a malicious person. I will not upload any code that is deemed malicious. If there is a vulnerability in my application, I will be more than happy to address it. So, from 9 years ago, yeah, I wrote it with when I was live streaming 9 years ago. But that's another story. You can check out my page. Kind of go in there and just kind of have some fun. You know, there's going to be some stuff that you won't be able to see. That's fine. This SharpSTL site should also be rendered private, but that's fine. My QMK firmware and all that stuff. This actually is a pretty fun one. It was written in Java. I hate Java. I know how to write in Java. Kind of, you know, pisses me off. But if you take a look at the code, you'll kind of notice some weird things. So if I go to the menu, I'm taking in an object. Some of them I'm taking in wildcards. So Menulet, there's some wildcarding going on. So there's my T, which is a type parameter. But then I'm also taking a Menulet of a wildcard to T. This will allow me to do traversal. It's kind of like the node example right here. So if I wanted to make more of a wildcard node, I would introduce type parameters, and then I could constrain it to certain types, right? So as long as type is constrained to like a string or a structure, you know, so that I could do integers and doubles and whatnot. So the IDs would be a little different. So it kind of breaks the going forward, going backwards, unless I use iter. So I know that by ID, I can associate my linked lists. Kind of what this did too. So by going by traversing downwards into a menu, but then I can traverse back up, or I can jump back to a main menu. I encourage you guys to take a look at this code. See how my brain ticked when writing this code? So 4 years ago, I wrote this for a class. Inventory, and so forth. Honestly, it got me an A in the class. This project right here was a milestone that was more weighted, and I passed the class with it. It was a resounding A. Every single week, it was an A. There are some corrections here and there, but it was over 90%. So, I'm happy. And I think I might have the video on this too. We'll go to my studio. Content. Let's see. It was 239, right? Yep. Where is it? It's 120. Yep, here we go. So you do 1 through 7. And then there's the feature presentation. Let's do the feature presentation. All right, this is a quick demonstration of the storefront program that I have made over the past 7 weeks. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick run through of what I have here. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. My goodness. I have my employee ID. So I can actually show you what my employee ID is because I'm one. Now I'm going to go ahead and show the inventory real quick and show the kind of inventory that we have. It's very simple. So this is literally well, the video is not available, but it just demonstrates that menu traversing as you, well, this just shows the inventory, but well, no, it traverses through, literally, you know, because show inventory, main menu. So it just goes through. So the code's available. Video may not be. But I do say, look at my code, have fun with it. If there's any, if there's anything that you could have done better, let me know. So, until next time, I hope to see you next time.